I've loaded up into Deadwing. We have both of our Zerg players here. Got some beautiful music going on in the background.
No, it's calming.
But spawning down in the bottom right, the calm before the storm, we have our yellow Zerg. It is game time. Game time. I feel like I always want to, like,
Game time!
shout his name all the time.
Is this all capitalized?
And spawning at the top left, our green Zerg, Krillmon. There are a few different ways you could go with his name. You can go sort of in the Krillmon, sort of creepy.
Krillmon.
Or it could be like Krillmon.
Is he like a Digimon?
He
no?
could be,
Do you
yeah.
remember
Krillmon.
Digimon?
I'll go with the Jamaican version the way you did it. You're like, hey, good old man.
Krillmon.
Good luck, man. Have fun, man.
Krillmon. Quick spawning pool out of our Krillmon. Our favorite Digimon. No. Wait, we had a Pokemon name once, didn't we? Or something.
It would be probably Krillmon, right?
No, there was a Professor Oak or something, right?
Oh, yeah, we had Professor Oak. We had Professor Oak. I think that's all.
Yeah. We need to have like a vote for favorite name, I think.
Best
for every
name, and
cut.
I'm thinking like
This one, it's probably Thesaurus.
the best
Thesaurus
team
Rex.
art.
That too.
You know, on their little spinning thing, because we
Yeah.
liked Ashes, we liked Formless.
Yep.
Has cool ones.
Yep. Krillmon, no team. He's a lone wolf.
He
Lone
don't
wolf
need
with
no.
his
He don't need no team. He's a
You
real
don't need
independent
no
player.
team.
yeah, lone wolf with his 10 pool coming down. Although also I didn't see the timings on these, but it looks like probably somewhere around a 14-14 for game time with his gas and spawning pool. So he will be quite ready for this. Has Krillmon even seen where his opponent is yet? He has not. Although once his his drone's going to confirm before the Overlord is whether or not his opponent is in the bottom left. And once he sees that he's not, he will be heading straight to the bottom right with his Zerglings.
So is this the sort of play out of Krillmon where he's taking a gamble based on the map, assuming that his opponent isn't going to drop a super early pool, or what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those meta things. You know,
there's a
where-
meta within the meta.
Yeah, I mean, just because even on Deadwing, I feel like it's a lot of people, especially like pros, would probably argue that a 15 hatch is safe against anything on Deadwing. You know, a lot of people say on the bigger maps, like a 15 hatch can hold off a 10 pool Bane if you do it right. You know, but both these players are like trying to go for something a little bit unconventional, I suppose, for the map type. But game time probably, all the same.
I'm
The
going for the
nest,
Baneling Nest. You called it, by the way. I want to point that out.
I mean, I feel like all the same. The Baneling Nest, he might be able to put a little pressure onto Krillmon, onto this natural, but I don't think he'll, unless he gets real lucky, I don't think he'll really be able to cancel this natural hatchery coming out of Krillmon. And so really not a huge favor for either player, although, well, okay. Big commitment to the Zerglings out of game time, so maybe his odds have increased a little bit
Sure.
about actually canceling this.
We do have a
this
spine
hatchery.
coming down for Krillmon. I imagine he'll try to walk that down. He's got a queen with a tumor already out.
Yeah. And Krillmon may sacrifice this hatchery and just say, whatever, it's fine. I don't want to deal with this. I don't think he's seen his opponent's natural yet.
Oh, that makes it hard. So does he finish it as he cancels?
Yeah,
he ends up canceling.
Especially after seeing those Banelings morphing, he goes, yep, that's just not going to happen. He doesn't quite get this Queen Wall off, and that's a little bit concerning because those Banelings will decimate those Zerglings real quick. However, the Spine Crawler finishing just in time, but the follow-up of Zerglings behind this might just be too much.
Good job
for
targeting
Krillmon.
down the Banelings.
Oh, a lot of damage done to the drones. Those could be cleaned up very quickly by these Zerglings.
Needs to make 5 spines with those.
And I just don't think
Yeah,
it would happen.
GG is called.
Krillmon, or Game Time, and I think I remember, I didn't know him much before this, but the few times I've seen him play against like other streamers on stream, he was a very aggressive Zerg, and he's really showing that in this game. And I just think in this tournament, kind of in general. I mean, the Muta opener against Krillmon the other time that we saw was it's a little bit like, maybe not super aggressive, but it's a little bit non-standard. I guess it's the most like vanilla non-standard thing you can do though is mutas into roaches, but all the same, it's it's not the same boring.
Sure.
I'm gonna get +1/+1 and roaches, and then we're gonna derp around for 25 minutes. So pretty adrenaline-filled games. These first few matches. These
Right.
guys, they just woke up, and I think they're not ready to macro quite yet. But we will be
Well,
going
they just
on.
woke up, they just had their coffee, like they've got that caffeine
too, they're like-
injection right away, and they're like,
Why macro when you can 10 pool, man?
I know they're sitting over there twitching, like one hand actually isn't on the keyboard. They've got like one on a monster and it's just shaking, it's frothing from like their hand twitching.
Got the nerd jitters, just
Whoa, man.
over
Yeah, literally.
caffeinated.
It's like, no, I don't have a medical condition. I just play video games. It's okay. It's the standard. Okay. This is my standard opening when I wake up. So that was a really bad joke. I'll just leave now.
Is Catalina second?
What the heck?
Oh.
I think everyone just.
No, I screwed it up.
Oh, okay.
So Catalina is actually supposed to be second. My bad. So
But yeah, that was an example of sort of how ZVZ tends to go, because, like I said, there aren't a lot of initial openings. You can either go Zergling, and if you go back to the Wings of Liberty days, you can do a super fast Roach Rush where like that is timed somewhere around the 5:30 to 6 minute mark. But like both of those are one base strategies. I mean, you saw an expansion try to be thrown down that had to be canceled because the Zerglings were effectively chewing away at it. Those are your options. It's who can get the Zergling reinforced quicker a lot of times. And as much as we'd all love to see long games, I'm thinking that these players are going to attempt to do this because when you're doing a mirror match and the fastest units you've got are your Zerglings, why not go ahead and try to do it, especially on a map that was as large as the one we were just on. So hopefully we'll see a different strategy this time. Something, maybe a spine crawler push with queens or something. Not sure, but that would be fun.
Something
Proxy.
crazy.
Weird proxy hatch into spine crawl. I don't think that's a ZVZ thing, but I'd applaud anyone that was able to actually pull that off. But we have Catalina loading in. If you subscribe to Base Trade TV, you can get your hoi hoi hois out. That's actually the funniest emote. Maybe not the funniest emote, but it's like the cutest emote. The little like.
The
Have you not
little
seen it?
the little guy. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not. I don't even know. Is that an emo or it's like there's something else? There's a.
Well, it's a Twitch emote.
Okay.
Deal with it, Sam. Get out of here. Anyway, we're into the game.
Bad.
It is on Catalina, and spawning down in the bottom right side of the map, we have our player from Infinity Pro Gaming. He is Game Time. Game Time.
You gotta say it loudly when you do it. That way.
Game Time. Anyway.
Yeah, there we go. Like Hulk smash. In our upper right-hand corner, spawning at 12:30, 1 o'clock position approximately. We got our green Zerg here, Krillman. Or Krillman. There we go.
Oh, jeez.
He's Jamaican, we've decided, right?
That's right.
May have been one of the worst Jamaican accents that I've.
Yeah.
That's
So it's
okay.
kind of like what is it? Mickey Rourke's Russian accent from Iron Man.
Yeah.
That's harsh, man.
Hey, I'm not an actor. I don't have to be good at that.
So, we're at 14 supply and nobody's made any spawning pools yet,
Yes.
It's going to be typical. Although we saw these players yesterday play on Catalina.
And they played out a longer game.
Yeah, and it was the game where Game Time opened up with mutas into roaches. It may have been these same spawning positions too.
Is this just
So
an
let's just
easier-
replay what we watched yesterday, and I'm going to go take a lunch break.
Go
right?
take a break? Yeah, why not? Why not?
No, just
Is this just an easier expansion to defend from the perspective of the ramp to the main is so much closer to where you actually drop your hatch, right? So you can kind of park there a little bit more easily. You drop your baneling nest in the middle there.
yeah.
That's
So
fine if you need it. You have one queen. That's just a hero.
yeah, so this map, the only thing that, at least myself, I ain't no pro, but I definitely would never go like gasless on this map, just because even though you can kind of get like a baneling nest and then maybe like a spine crawler, kind of put, a little bit of SimCity between the natural, or the ramp between the main and the natural, and with your hatchery, you have like almost no way of getting creep to the ramp of your natural base and walling that off for any sort of the scenario where you get gasless opening against a speedling opener. You're gonna have a decently bad time unless you're quite good with your control. And both players opting to go for a pretty standard and safe, gas spawning pool, get speed out. Probably gonna get a baneling nest, and then we'll probably move on to just kind of another decision by both players. Will they go roaches? Will somebody start out opening up with mutas? Will somebody go for a ridiculous Ling Flood and then just leave after it doesn't work? We will see.
Maybe, but we're seeing in the production tab some real excitement in the differences between the two players.
Yes, it looks like a PvP, right? Or no?
I think
guess
PvPs have more variety than that.
Yeah, that's true. Was it? Or was it?
I'll note your sarcasm there entirely, because the only difference here is that speed is 10 seconds behind for you know, for Krillmon, but you know, this is why Blizzard is putting 12 workers in our starting lineup as of Legacy of the Void to avoid these sorts of decisions, or lack of, perhaps.
Sure. And although you just mentioned, you know, Krillmon's speed 10 seconds behind, kind of everything he's doing is just a few seconds behind. So maybe he's, although, okay, game time won't get supply blocked. He's not me. He's done this before, but I'm thinking maybe Krillmon's just, I don't know, maybe he's just a little bit off.
Well, he's got a slight worker lead.
Yeah, true. No, that's a real worker lead. Well, I guess it was just a big round that came in game time going for a big round of Zerglings instead. So we will see, again, he'll probably, where are these Banelings being morphed? Those will be, okay, those will be offensive Banelings. He's going to put some pressure on. Krillmon should be pretty decently prepared. He does see the Zerglings and Banelings coming down with his overlords that he's got.
Oh, potential for a beautiful Baneling connection. Not bad.
Really, I mean, the big thing here is that we've still got a lot of Zerglings left over for game time, but Krillmon with the reinforcing advantage. He does lose a couple of drones, but he was already ahead on drones. Game time, pretty good diligence to snipe off drones individually with his speedlings. But really, we just start to even out a little bit.
That's a pretty. I mean, in the end, that's a pretty good hold for Krillmon there, right?
Yeah.
He maintains his worker lead.
And he's actually got the tech lead now, because his lair is finished quite a bit before game times. And Krillmon going for the Spire.
Oh!
This might be a little bit of an adaptation of him seeing a Spire out of game time last time. A little bit of a counterattack coming out of Krillmon. Almost more for a scout than anything. He didn't quite get it, which is really unfortunate. I don't think he saw the lair time. Maybe not the timing, but he didn't see that he did see that the lair was still morphing, so he knows my Spire's already started, his lair isn't even done, so, and he hasn't seen a Roachhorn yet.
I'd really like to see Krillmon blocking his ramp to deny a Ling Scout into his main.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he's kind of doing with the zoning of a Baneling and a couple more Banelings and a Queen. And he just, there's not a lot of purpose in, like, wasting the buildings, kind of, to drones to block that off.
I was thinking the two queen block off.
Oh, into the main. Yeah,
into the main.
But he's got to inject. And those queens are fat. They can't move across that expansion very quick.
So game time drops a fairly early third, right? An earlier third, we'll say, and it gets spotted right away by Krillmon. Krillmon responds with a third of his own.
I'm going to make a non-tactical observance here, so you can change the the contrast of it. And all these Banelings look like giant fat lightning bugs. Like, I can't actually see any other texture other than their back end like glowing on my screen. So it's the only way I can tell what army is attacking what. I'm like, all right, I got like the ectoplasm colored ones and the lightning bug colored ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just make Banelings. I can keep track of what's going on. Anyway, so. There is, Krillmon is sending out some of his Zerglings, out wide on the map to try to see if there's perhaps any, sneaky hatches somewhere. Maybe he's going to try to roll in with some Banelings here. There's a small defense by game time sitting in his front. Just to hold off, not too many, 2 Banelings and about a dozen or more Zerglings. Still, we haven't seen any of a lot of the higher tech things. The Spire for game time is finishing, but the armor upgrade in the Spire for Krillmon has started, so we're going to see some air attack, and there is a big battle down here.
The mutas of Krillmon already arriving. He's going to force the kill on the third there. Only one Spore Crawler started, right? Game time putting everything into Lings and mutas. He is going to pop more mutas to be able to push this back, but, I mean, the damage is almost already done.
Yeah.
Krillmon already wiping out, his whole supply of Lings. Very cool.
And it's already almost too much damage, assuming that Krillmon doesn't get a little overzealous with his Muta fights. He does have that armor upgrade already started. Both players are staying on mutas. The third base for game time was denied, was killed, and the third base for Krillmon has been, unassaulted.
Right. Why wouldn't you drop, as Krillmon at this point, seeing the mute account, why wouldn't you drop a spore there? Are you just so comfortable in your mute account?
You're also just, as we can see with Krillmon's resources, they're very lined up in that 100 intervals.
Sure.
So he's got the potential to make 5 more mutas right now if he'd like
So
to.
every spore is a muta he doesn't have?
Yeah, kind of. And it's really, too, it's just he feels like he's got the air dominance. He has the map control. His are the overlords. If we look at the vision for both players, the overlords on the map, pretty much done for game time. The overlords on the map for Krillmon, he can see a lot of the map. He can respond to things well. And now you're being proven in your little spore talk, but whatever.
Right. I mean, to me, that spore is insurance for a couple of drones or that single queen.
Yeah, although no drones. I think no drones actually fell here.
Correct.
Just the queen. Although the larva is very, very important in Muta, and especially when the players start to transition to some Ling run-bys, some Ling attacks throughout the map to try and throw their opponent off. That larva is a very valuable resource.
Game time calls GG. He sees the muta counts, and in ZVZ, the joke is always right. He has one more muta, so I left the game.
Well, I mean,
a little bit more extreme
was,
in that situation.
It's 19 more mutas. That's very much.
Oh,
very
and
much
Krillmon killed the third of game time again. Did he do a Ling run by? I didn't even see.
Probably a Ling run by. Yeah.
Okay.
We're
Procasters. We're so good that we didn't even know that happened. 19 drones died somewhere in there.
That was probably the third base again.
I did also realize that during that second muta engagement there, that right at the end, that there was a serious supply deficit. The army value of game time was less than half of Krillmon's.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. Again, I know that that's not a very good barometer necessarily, because as we've seen, you can have a properly built army that defends against a superior valued army quite effectively. But when you're in a mirror match like this, it's I think more accurate, and with double the value, then you likely have more units in each unit category than your opponent. And
especially when they're in this scenario, they're making the same thing, exactly the same thing. So.
But again, towards the end, when you make units that are larger than Zerglings, I can keep track of who's who, because then it's just like there's colors wailing on colors. I can't really see. There's overlords above them, so I just hear damage and animal squeals and splashes, and I have no idea what's going on.
Right.
So sorry, and I've been more quiet because my knowledge of Zerg timings is not nearly what yours are. So
he has more banelings. Something crazy's gonna happen.
Nidus worms everywhere. They're in every base. So sorry for the viewers who wanted me to prattle on and drown out Sam again, like I think I did last time. But I'm gonna let the two pros do what they do best.
Not a chance.
I sit this one out, sort of.
I'm a pretty miserable Zerg myself. I know a thing or two about a thing or two, but just those 4 things.
And all of them are that you know enough that you don't know enough.
That's right. That's like Dr. Seuss level quoting right there. You know, that man, he made kids' books, but whoa, he got it.
He taught all of us circular references as early as in our life as we could.
But we have... So these first couple matches, these first couple series, they have been quick.
Yeah.
But they've been exciting, and they have been 2-1. Well... I mean, they will be 2-1.
Oh, right. Oh,
it is a best of 3. So game time in Krillmon, it is a 1-1 scenario. We have loaded up into Overgrowth, the most standard of maps ever,
most standard
apparently.
of maps,
well, whatever. Anyway, we are up into Overgrowth. I have no more words about it, but up in the top right, let's see what he can do. He is our yellow Zerg. He's game time.
And spawning at
go
the
ahead.
bottom
I
left.
gotta cough anyway.
With the momentum of the last win, our green Zerg Krillmon. Teamless and proud.
Well, my comment about the early 4 minutes of this game is that I'm glad none of them are pink. Because
you just have quite the aversion, don't you?
Well, and you know what's ironic is that I just think it's such a pretty color, but for such an ugly looking race. Like that's the reason.
Yeah.
Like there's a logic. It's like, you know what? They make like, I don't know, like
But
like
a
wet
pink
fart
overlord.
noises for their emotes, and then they're just ugly to start with, and then you splash pink on them. I mean, like, that's just offensive.
So you're telling me this beautiful lady right there floating, you would tell her she doesn't look good in her outfit if she was wearing pink?
I'd also tell her she probably needs to lose weight, and that she's got some things hanging off of her face there that are a little weird.
You could probably shave your face there.
Might need to trim up a little bit, right?
You know, the third tendril was okay, but that fourth one there, I don't know about that.
Starting to look unkempt.
So,
Yeah.
pretty typical openings out of both players. 15 spawning pool, 15 hatch. Really, at the end of the day, don't make extreme differences between the two. A 15 spawning pool, while you will have Zerglings out a little bit faster, the fact that they have to run all the way over to your opponent's base means that they're not going to be able to really get a whole lot done, not going to be able to punish, blind counter sort of 15 hatch. So
you
really,
might say it's more defensive, right, as he's dropped a hatch of his own.
yeah, very much so. Krillmon just wants, Game Time says, come at me with your 10 pool Bane if you want. I'm gonna put it out there, and Krillmon says I'm gonna be a little bit more defensive with the 15 spawning pool instead.
The advantage I see here is that Game Time's hatch, his natural, is going to finish significantly ahead of his opponents, and that, larva count is everything in well, actually any Zerg match that involves a Zerg. So he's going to have a few extra larvae. He could potentially push with the Lings, because that natural is going to line up pretty much when his pool pops, which it just did. And and he actually, as he said, he does make, out of that initial larva, he does make a queen and some Zerglings. So he may try to go ahead and try to push past and take advantage of that timing that he got the advantage in.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best thing that you can do here is try for a couple of drone kills or something like that. And especially, Game Time actually does he should get a scout off on his opponent, all the way up into his opponent's main base, where Krillmon does see the extractor out of Game Time. He probably was able to click on that, see how much gas has been mined, so he does know kind of what Game Time is doing. But Game Time will be able to very likely get up into Krillmon's base, up into his face. He's gonna get up in you and really have like that complete scout of what's going on as well. But both players are actually getting pretty good information. I guess the only thing is that Game Time. The only thing he might not know is whether or not Krillmon's got like a Baneling nest.
Right. Well, I think that it was kind of curious. Both of them stopped short of checking tech behind the mineral line, right? To see that shifty, wait, why do you have a Roach Warren? Why do you have a Baneling nest? Something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the sort of thing where, especially on Overgrowth,
they just got it felt out.
The front of the natural is real tempting to just throw all your tech down there,
Right.
Especially because you want to be able to protect against a real wide entrance against something like a whole ton of speedlings.
And noting that, since we've had two pretty much mirror matches in the truest sense of it, where it's either been Lings versus Lings, Mutas versus Mutas, we do finally see a difference here, because there's a Baneling nest for who had the Baneling nest? For Game Time, but there's a Roach Warren for Krillmon. So we're going to see potentially Banelings versus Roaches, and as everyone knows, Banelings do not get their damage bonus versus armored units. So this might be a chance for Krillmon to basically get a flood of Roaches. And really, Game Time won't have a response to it other than Zerglings and Banelings, which aren't nearly as effective, because they don't do any bonus damage versus armored.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that Game Time just really likes to open with mutas and ZVZs, because this with all these gases that he's taken, he's just now taking his third hatchery, but it's Spire coming down, so he will be trying to open up with mutas. It's on a map like Overgrowth, I feel like it's a little bit tough to do, because defending against mutas here is kind of simple. Defending against air with this sort of base layout, it's all kind of in a line. You just have to make the Great Wall of Spore Crawlers, a couple placed around on each of the bases, and you're pretty safe. But we will see. We got a little fight going down, a little bit of an attempted denial of the third base out of Game Time, but Krillmon will push those Zerglings away, and I would think that somewhere shortly Well, it could be just a big +1 roach push. He probably... Does he know that... Okay, he has seen the Spire, so he knows that mutas will be coming down out of his opponent, so he knows that he needs to do damage before those mutas actually come out. This is the point in time when game time is really weak. He's trying to build a couple of spines to compensate. They just may be able to finish before these roaches get here, especially with the delaying tactics of the Zerglings. So they
absolutely, and combined when we've got Ling, Spore, and Queen here, there's just enough DPS to sort of at least deter it, if not repel it entirely. He does manage to do sort of both. The roaches will push back in, but you're right. Now that the Spire is finished, there's going to be Mutalisks, which actually, what is he building at the moment? There are 7 Mutalisks now out, and unfortunately, roaches don't shoot up. So the roaches are going to be sacked here as they attempt to do as much drone killing as they can.
They definitely should be able to kill a whole lot of drones. So as they a lot of distraction from the Zerglings, but decent drone kills going on. A little bit of a worker supply coming out from Krillmon now, although no third base out of Krillmon, which is maybe a little bit concerning. I'm actually not sure what he's doing with his money, to be honest. Oh, hello. Never mind. We're idiots. Didn't see the
Nidus Worm. I
like it. Unfortunately, Nidus Worms are made of paper, and this one's probably going to fall real quick. Yeah.
He has mercy on it?
He gives it his second thought. Okay.
The third base, though, of game time really isn't being utilized. I mean, it's being used for its few larvae, but he's got a single drone there, being the lone wolf. But these mutas out here are going to shut down any kind of roach push that he was hoping to do. He did get a lot of damage done with those roaches. I think the lowest roach there had something like 4 kills, and the highest had like 6 or 7. So the roaches were worth it, but now he's throwing down some spore crawlers on the other side of his natural. He still doesn't have a third, though. So even though Game Time's not using it, if he needs to do a mass probe or a mass drone transfer, or if he decides to go for a round of droning, he can do that. Whereas Krillmon just doesn't have the ability to increase his economy beyond what he's already got.
There's actually no spores in the main out of Krillmon. That kind of makes me nervous, to be honest. If Game Time picks up on that, that's
and so he lost massacre. 1 queen, right, as he was trying to take the thirds. Does he have any?
He has a number. He has a lot sitting in this Nidus canal.
Oh, okay.
And will this second Nidus be picked up by Game Time? I don't think so, so this might pick him, catch him really off guard. And if those queens are able to get a couple of tumors down.
Does he bring a couple of drones here, too, for spores?
Maybe. We'll see. I'm not sure if he's got them loaded in there. There's a good chance. That'd be a very good choice.
Oh, and the attack is going down. This third is going to drop. There is just more roaches than there are dot pixels on the screen. We're talking, oh geez, how many is it? I can't quite look. Like a little under 24 roaches. They just clean up everything. The mutas are there to sort of help. It wipes out the Nexus, but this force of queens is going to attempt to try to repel the mutas that are trying to ruin these roaches' days. But he's just chilling there. He throws down another Nidus Worm right in the middle of his natural and third, so he's going to attempt to reinforce with something here.
It's just the slow march of the
it's kind of
cool.
It brings some creep over there as well. He does have a lair, so he can just drop creep, but
yeah, and I think
this is a headbutting of roach versus roach. There's some mutas that are trying to do their help. The queens now, he's now got 7 queens over there, so the queens are repelling those mutas fairly well, allowing the roaches to walk in. This went from being a situation where I thought that quite literally Krillmon was going to be hurting with the mutas, but the mutas never moved out really to damage that weak point with the natural of Krillmon's with no queens. And so these roaches are steamrolling, absolutely steamrolling Game Time's front end. There's a spore crawler that is not long for this world, but that is it, and GG is called. Krillmon takes it.
Krillmon turning that series around, drops the early series in the winner's bracket to Game Time, but manages to pull out 2 wins in the loser's bracket, and he'll go on to the third place match.